Good morning. We will discuss now functions of random variables or transformations of random variables. So, this is a topic that is motivated as follows. So, you may have a random variable which maps the sample space to the real line. However, you may be interested not the exact value of the random variable itself, but some function of it. Okay. So, you may measure x right directly, but you may be interested in the distribution and statistical properties of, let us say, x square or log x or something like that, because your application may demand that log x is of more importance to you than x itself, for example, right. That very often happens in applications in engineering and statistics. So, this is the motivation for studying functions of random variables. See, you should recall that random variables are themselves functions, right. So, when we talk of functions of random variables, we are talking about composition of two functions, right. So, if you have some probability space omega f p and our random variable x is mapping omega to real line such that pre images of Borel sets are f measurable, right. Now, you may be interested in some function of x, right. So, let us say that f is some function that takes values from r to begin with, right. So, what f does is it maps. So, this is another real line, okay, and this guy maps. So, this is x of omega and f will simply map. So, this is f. Okay. So, so once omega realizes x of omega is a fixed number and f will map that further to another point here, which is f of x of omega, all right. Fine. Now, if you look at the overall mapping, so if you do not look at this real line at all, this overall map will be f composition x, right. It looks as though you are mapping it twice, right. So, you are essentially when you are talking about function of a random variable, you are talking about composition of two functions from omega to r. Okay. So, the problem is, so if you are given the probability law or the CDF of x, I want to determine the probability law or the CDF of f of x, f of capital X, right. Now, before that we must address whether this composed mapping f composition x, right, whether that is a random variable at all, right. So, random variable, so if you want to speak about the distribution of x, we know how to do that, but if you want to talk about the probability or CDF of f of x, we have to first establish that f of x is a random variable, right. What does that mean? It means that if I take Borel sets here, its pre image must be f measurable here, only then is f of x a random variable, right, by definition, correct. If I just look at it as one mapping f composition x, under that composed mapping I must have pre images of Borel sets are events, right. Now, one sufficient condition for that to happen is that if f were to be a Borel measurable function, which means that if I have Borel sets here, its pre images here are Borel sets. Suppose that is the case, then the pre image of that will be an f measurable set, right. So, whenever f is a Borel measurable function, I will necessarily have f composition x is a legitimate random variable. Is that clear to everyone? Right. So, what I am saying is, if f is Borel measurable, which means i.e. pre-images of Borel sets or Borel sets, then f composition x is a random variable on omega f p. Agreed with that? Because what I am saying is, so f is a Borel measurable function or simply a Borel function. It's that is like saying that if you take any Borel set here, its pre-image under f must be a Borel set on R, and of course if you have a Borel set here, its pre-image must be f measurable because x is a random variable, correct. So is this statement okay with everyone? Okay. So the problem is, a more precisely stated problem is, if you have a Borel function f(x) is a random variable and I want to determine the probability law of f of x given the probability law of x, right, that is the problem confronting us, all right. And now I mean this is, you can even speak about now functions mapping Rn through Rm in general, right. You may for example have n random variables, right, x1 through xn defined on omega fp, and you may want to talk about f of x1 x2 xn, right. So you may have let us say f is from, let us say f is Rn to R, it could just as well be Rm, then you have sample space, then you have some Rn here, all right. So you have some x1 x2 dot xn, right. So you have a map from omega fp, the same underlying probability space is being mapped to some vector in Rn, right. These guys are all random variables living in omega fp, okay, which means that if you take Borel sets on Rn, their pre images are events f measurable, and now you have some function, this could also be Rm, let me just draw f, right. So this will be f of dot dot dot, right, this will be f of x1 x2 xn of omega, right. So here too you want, if you take any Borel set, its pre image must be a Borel set in Rn, and of course every Borel set in Rn's pre image is event, is an event, right. So here too the same thing holds, right. If f is Borel measurable, then f of x1 x2, if f is Borel measurable, then f of x1 x2 dot 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 xn is a random variable on omega fp. Fine. Again here the question will be, given the joint law of x1 through xn, what is the CDF of f of x1 x2 xn, right. So that is what we are going to discuss. So are there any questions on the setup? Everything okay so far? Okay, so our agenda will be as follows. First we will consider some special cases of these functions. So first we will consider maxima and minima, maximum and minimum of random variables, which is actually fairly easy. Then we will consider sums of random variables, okay, because they are of maximum, minima, and sums are like of great importance. And then we will consider general transformations, some f, some generic f, okay. So, our agenda will be, first we will discuss maximum and minimum, then we will discuss sums of random variables, and finally we will address more general transformations. Or more general functions. So, we will discuss maximum and minimum first. Okay. Let x1 x2 dot xn be random variables on omega fp with joint CDF capital F x1 x2 xn of little x1 little x2 little xn. Let yn is equal to min of Zn is equal to max of so you are considering n random variables. So, a finite set of random variables x1 through xn whose joint CDF is given to you, okay. And you are looking at the min of these x2 x1 through xn and max of x1 through xn, okay. So, what does this mean? For every omega, so whenever omega realizes, I have x1 omega, x2 omega, xn omega realizing as real numbers, right. For each such omega, yn of omega will be the smallest of those numbers and zn of omega will be the largest of those numbers, correct. So, for some particular omega x3 may be the smallest, but for some other omega x1 may be the smallest, and similarly for zn, right. So, you are looking at the distribution of the smallest of these xi's and the largest of these xi's, okay. Is that clear? So, now are these even random variables? We have to see this is some function, this is like that, right, f of x1 x2 xn max is max of x1 x2 xn a measurable function, or for that matter is min of x1 x2 xn a measurable function, right. That is the question, right. Once we say yes, it is a random variable, then we can go ahead and talk about its CDF or probability law, right. So, we have to first establish that. Note that yn and zn are indeed random variables, since. So, what do I have to show? I have to show that pre images of Borel sets here are Borel sets here, right. But here actually, because this is such a simple function, there is a easier way of doing this, okay. So, for example, if I take let us say yn, okay. So, the event, if I take the event that yn of omega is less than or equal to little y, well maybe I should do it for Zn first, okay. It is a little bit easier with the maximum, okay. Let me do it with Zn, little Zn little z, okay. So, I want to show that that is Zn is a random variable. So, if I show that this is an f measurable set, I am done, correct, because this means that the pre image of the semi infinite interval here is in fact an event, correct. Any questions? So, if I show this is a valid event, I am done, but Zn is the, so this is the event that, this is the event that maximum of x 1 omega dot 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 x n omega is less than or equal to little z, right, correct. Next, note that the maximum is less than or equal to little z is equivalent to saying that each one of them is less than or equal to z, right, that is the key step. So, this is equal to the set of all omegas for which x 1 of omega is less than or equal to z and x 2 of omega less than or equal to z dot 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 x n of omega less than or equal to z. So, when I write comma again, I mean intersection, right. What I actually mean is intersection I equal to 1 to n omega such that x 1 of omega less than or equal to z and so on, right, x I of omega less than or equal to z, that is it, fine with me so far. Now, what kind of a set is that? So, this is some semi infinite cuboid in R n, right, and x 1 to x n are random variables, and in R n if you take any semi infinite cuboid in R n, its pre image has to be f measurable. Why? X 1 through x n are random variables, correct. So, if x 1 through x n are random variables, pre images of Borel sets are f measurable. In particular, the semi infinite cuboids on R n are the generating class. So, their pre images are certainly, so these are, this is an f measurable set for sure, right, because x 1 through x n are random variables. So, this is an f measurable set, correct. Are there any questions? So, max was very easy, right, yes.
Z will take one of the values realized by x of n.
Z, yes.
That is a Borel set anyway, right, because x is a random variable.
Yeah, no, that is true, but every time. So, what you are saying is that Z n is always one of the xi's, but it is the I will be different from different realizations.
In every case it will be Borel set, right?
No. So, what I am saying is that, so if for some omega, so for some particular omega it may be x 3, but for some other omega it may be x 5, right. So, the index of the maximum itself is something random, correct. You cannot fix that index, it is not as though a particular xi is always the maximum, right, correct. So, it's no, you cannot claim that Z n is always one of the xi's and xi is a random variable. So, Z is a random variable, that is not correct, because it is true that Z is always one of the xi's, but that I itself is random, it depends on omega, correct. Yes, but it is enough to prove for the generating class. So, if pre images of semi infinite intervals are f measurable, then you can show that pre images of all Borel sets are f measurable. Okay. Now, similarly, how will you show that y n is a random variable? So, let us do this here. How do you show f? So, y n So, let us look at now I am going to look at y n of omega greater than z, little y, let us say. Okay. If this is an f measurable set, then necessarily y n of omega less than or equal to y will be a measurable set, because it is only the complement, right. And why am I taking greater here? Because I am dealing with the minimum, right. Eventually I am going to write, so I am going to write omega, this is omega such that x 1 of omega greater than, so well first I should write minimum x 1 omega dot 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 x n omega greater than y, right. And if you are saying that the minimum of all these guys is itself greater than y, then each of them must be greater than y, right, they are equivalent, right. This is equivalent to saying that omega, this is omega such that x 1 of omega greater than y comma x 2 of omega greater than y dot 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 x n of omega greater than y. All right. So, again commas mean intersection. So, is this step clear? This is the key step. Now, so this is an f measurable set, right. You are just this you can show as an f measurable set, because this is like, so this is like a semi infinite cuboid, but it is pointing the other way, right. You can show this is a f measurable set. Okay. So, this is an event, right. So, this is f measurable, and again this is f measurable. So, we have proved that both y n and z n are valid random variables, right. So, now our task is to determine the CDF of this z and y, all right. So, let us, so actually these expressions themselves provide a very easy way to calculate the CDF. In fact, so I know this is the event whose probability I am after all, right. My CDF is after all the P of this event, correct. So, next f z n of z will be equal to probability that omega for which z n of omega less than or equal to little z, that is equal to probability of omega for which x 1 of omega less than or equal to z dot 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 x n of omega less than or equal to z, right. So, I am just putting p here and p here, right. Now, what is this? Do I know this? I want this, right. Do I know this? This is the joint CDF evaluated at z z z z z, right. So, this is equal to f x 1 x 2 dot dot x n of little z little z little z dot dot dot. Understand what I mean? So, you are given the joint CDF of x 1 through x n. If you replace each of the arguments with z, you will get the CDF of your maximum. Is that clear? And similarly, I want to talk about the CDF of y. What would I do? I will do 1 minus this, right, or rather if I just take the probability of this event I will get 1 minus the CDF, correct, the complementary CDF as it is called, right. And so I say f y n bar of y, right, this is complementary CDF. Right, that is equal to 1 minus f n of y, f y n of y rather, that is equal to probability omega for which s x 1 greater than y dot 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 x n greater than y. Now, what is that? It is not really 1 minus, this is the right, this is, I mean this is really that. So, this is like the complementary joint CDF, right, which you can calculate from the joint CDF, right. So, in the max you directly get CDF in terms of CDF, here you get complementary CDF in terms of joint complementary CDF, correct. So, maybe I should just write this as f bar x 1 through x n of y y y. This is the joint complementary CDF. Okay. So, if you give me the CDF, I can find the CDF of the maximum and minimum, right. So, this assumes nothing further, right, this does not assume that xi's are, I mean xi's can be any random variables, they can be, some of them could be discrete, some of them, you know, anything is possible, you are just given some joint CDF, right. I am not assuming anything further about what the, whether they are discrete or continuous or otherwise, or I am not even assuming anything about the joint distribution, I am not assuming independence in particular, right, it is just some arbitrary joint distribution. So, this is a completely general expression.